How Biden's new environmental rule could force coal and gas plants to shut down entirely. This is nuts. This is crazy. Unless you are actually trying to destroy America and turn us into a third world country, this doesn't make any sense because we really don't have the technology to not use coal or gas. So why would you want to shut it down? The technology doesn't exist. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon where I talk about things I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my merch store where I have I Will Not Comply t-shirts as well. So check those out. All right, let's talk about this wild news. The Biden administration is imposing near impossible emission standards on coal and gas plants that force them to adopt the use of expensive, unproven green technology or shut down. And the thing is, a lot of this technology is not really green. There been I actually wrote an article yesterday evening about how they pushing some of this food, some of this synthesized in a lab created food that turns out to be worse on the environment than using meat and things like that. But I digress. Uh, President Joe Biden's Environmental Protection Agency on Thursday morning unveiled the standards which force coal and gas plants to slash their carbon emissions a whopping 90% between 2035 and 2040. Uh, to meet those strict standards, the agency is advising the plants to use carbon capture technology to store the emissions underground before they hit the atmosphere. But carbon capture technology is both extremely expensive and largely unproven at the moment. No power plant in the country uses it, and implementing carbon capture will require the construction of billions of dollars in pipelines to funnel emissions underground. As a result, energy experts and federal lawmakers are arguing that the standards are aimed at regulating fossil fuel plants out of business, and that's exactly what it's meant for, because they always talk about trust the science, trust the science. Well, where's the science behind this carbon capture thing? How we know that pumping it underground won't harm something under the earth, when we have uh, 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 dire consequences because of that? Like, what will happen? Will we get more earthquakes because of this, or things like we don't know. The point is, we don't know what this carbon capture thing would do. But quote, by mandating the use of technology that doesn't really exist on fossil fuel power plants, Biden and company are bringing the country to its knees, threatening to force the closure of the majority of reliable baseload and peaking power plants. Heartland Institute environmental policy expert Sterling Burnett said. West Virginia Democratic Senator Joe Manchin concurred with Burnett, saying in a Wednesday statement that the Biden administration, quote, is determined to advance its radical climate agenda and has made it clear that they are hell bent on doing everything in their power to regulate coal and gas fuel power plants out of existence. But I'm gonna stop right here for a moment and point out that Joe Manchin he was one of the main ones helping push Biden's agenda when he voted for some of these policies. So, but now that Joe Manchin has a real chance of losing re-election, now all of a sudden he's speaking out against Biden. Where was this when he was signing the what was that act? Um, I can't remember the name of the act, but when he signed the act the inflationary act that actually added more inflation to the country. Where was he then? But anyway, Biden's power plant rule is the largest. I'm sorry, is the latest of many strict environmental regulations the Democrat has unveiled to fight so-called climate change. In the last year alone, for example, Biden's Energy Department has proposed or finalized energy efficient rules targeting gas stoves, washing machines. They're coming after refrigerators and light bulbs, quote, collectively. It's ridiculous. But the department said in February, quote, these energy efficient actions will reduce greenhouse gas emissions and support President Biden's ambitious clean energy agenda to combat the climate crisis. Again, no studies to show that these things actually work. They don't point to any type of science or anything. But then again, these are, again, like I said before, these are the same people that tell you to trust the science. But where's the science that show that any of these tactics will actually have any effect on so-called climate change, which I'm not so sure we are behind anyway. I don't believe in anthropologic um, um, global warming. I don't think we have anything to do with that whatsoever. But Biden's Environmental Protection Agency, which did not return a quest for comment. Of course, they're not gonna comment on their policy. They just make all these rules and make all these regulations and then don't comment on it because they know that most Americans won't buy in on this bull crap. But seems to understand that fossil fuel plant operators may prefer to shut down their operations rather than comply with new standards. The agency rule, quote, allows plants that agree to close in the first half of 2030s to avoid most or all of the pollution reduction mandates, according to Politico. But a widespread shuttering of fossil fuel plants would have a crippling effect on the nation's power grid and energy independence, experts say. And to that, I say, no duh. Of course. And again, this is what they want. This is why they're putting these ridiculous policies in place, knowing that we can't, knowing that it will shut down power plants because that's exactly what they want. Again, they want to turn the United States into a third world country, and we're on our way to that. But every single policy thing that Biden puts in place is is the antithetical to to helping the United States. It does nothing to help the American people. But coal and gas combine to generate roughly 60% of America's electricity. And without those energy sources, quote, Biden will have overseen the dismantling of the least expensive, most reliable large power system in the world, Burnett said. The materials needed to produce Biden's preferred green energy alternatives, wind and solar, are also controlled by, guess who? You got it, China. And making green energy the, quote, death knell of America's global economic competitiveness and a dream come true for hostile China, according to Heartland Institute President James Taylor. Again, why is Biden doing this? Because China is making him do these stupid policies. This is what China wants to bring down the American economy. But, quote, we simply cannot remain globally competitive if we eliminate the utilization of America's most affordable, reliable energy sources, Taylor said. And the Biden administration defended its power plant rule Wednesday, with Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Michael Regan arguing in a press briefing that the, quote, public health and environmental benefits of this proposed rule will outweigh its drawbacks. Are you for real? He goes on to say, we have more than enough reason to be optimistic about what's possible for the future of our nation, Reagan said. Still, Reagan's optimism could be dashed by impending legal challenges to the rule. Thank goodness people are doing trying to do something about it. But Energy and Environmental Legal Institute senior fellow Steve Malloy said the illegal rule, quote, has no chance of withstanding legal scrutiny given recent Supreme Court ruling that limited the Environmental Protection Agency's ability to regulate fossil fuel power plants. Former George W. Bush environmental official Jeff Homestead, meanwhile, said the rule has, quote, serious legal vulnerabilities given its reliance on questionable carbon capture technology. He goes on to say, I don't think it would be that hard to say, quote, look, this technology hasn't been adequately demonstrated yet, Homestead told Politico. And I hope he's right. I hope we don't get a leftist judge when this case goes to trial that believes in this so-called green energy takeover that we know it doesn't really work. It really doesn't help the environment. This is about, like I always say, power and control and wanting to bring down, turn the United States into a third world country so China could come in and take over. But Let me know what you think. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, and check out democrepublics.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.